Welcome to Below the Frame. I am Matt Vogel. A couple of months ago, I put out a little call to all of you out there, all of you listeners and watchers of our podcast, wondering if you had any questions that we could answer. And you sent in a ton of questions. And last episode, I had my son Hunter ask me the questions, and I answered them. And here we go once again with my 16-year-old son Keaton, who will be asking those questions that you sent in, and I'm going to do my best to answer. So Keaton, take it away. Okay, Keaton, you have some questions for me from folks.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. Let's start at the top and go on until we reach the end.
All right. Many Phantom Doku said,
okay,
will we ever get a real Electric Mayhem tour?
Will we ever get a real Electric Mayhem tour? I'm guessing that's similar to like what we did with Outside Lands, where we did a concert and it was this big outdoor festival. It was amazing. No, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if we would get a tour or not. I mean, I guess if the opportunity was provided to us and it was something that Muppet Studio didn't want to pass up, then sure. But, I don't know at this point.
All right.
Don't know.
Muppet Halls says, what is your favorite character you were given by a previous Muppet performer?
Favorite character given by a previous Muppet performer? Well, I love performing any of the characters that Jerry performed, and probably my favorite character that he didn't give me any of these characters, by the way. I mean, I don't think he really gave them to me, but there is kind of a tradition of when of perhaps maybe giving your blessing to somebody that might take over a character for you. I don't know. I mean, I know there are certain cases like Carol Spinney certainly picked me to play Big Bird, and certainly picked Eric to play Oscar. Jerry, I guess there was a similar kind of thing where he did kind of give his blessing to me in playing his characters. At the time, that only really included Floyd and Robin, and maybe Dr. Julius Strangepork. It wasn't until after Jerry had passed that I started playing the Count and other characters. Although with the Count, I did kind of double for him while he was providing the voice. All of that to say, my favorite character that would have been played by another Muppet performer, I think just right now in this moment, I'm going to say Uncle Deadly. There's a lot of latitude that I have with him because of what was written for him in the 2015 series and in the films as well that kind of helped grow his character. Okay. And so I would say that.
All right.
How's that? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, good.
Sounds
good.
Ryan Payne 378 said, what's it like taking over for Jim Henson as Kermit the Frog?
So I was hugely inspired by Jim Henson as a kid growing up in Kansas City. And I made my own puppets, and I performed them for kids in the neighborhood. I had no idea that one day I would be given the responsibility of carrying on in Jim's footsteps with Kermit. I would say that with any of the characters that I play. I've never, ever thought that I would be given the responsibility to play these characters that I get to play now. And I treat that it's a very serious thing, and I take it very seriously, as does any performer that is carrying on in the footsteps of some other performer that has come before them. It's a very serious thing. What I think is important is that in the moment when we are performing those characters, whether it's Kermit or whether it's Swedish Chef for Bill or whether it's Oscar for Eric or whoever it is, we're not thinking about that. We're not thinking about the importance of that moment. You're just thinking about the scene and the character and what the character wants in that moment. And that's how we can really honor not only the character that we're currently playing, but the performer that came before it, because that's what they did in those moments.
Okay.
You like that? Is that a
Yeah,
good one?
no, it's yeah.
Okay.
All right.
What's next?
Fop Doodles said.
Is it say it with a straight face?
Fop Doodles
Okay, yeah.
said, "Do you have any advice for new puppeteers who want to break into TV performing, especially those of us in other countries who can't?"
That's okay.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
find it. Where is it?
It's right there.
Who can't up and move?
Up and move to NYC or LA.
Okay. Any advice for puppeteers who want to break into TV performing? I would say now we live in a time where your phone is a TV studio, and there are so many more avenues to get into television puppetry than there were when I was coming up, and when even Jim Henson was coming up. And so I would say one of the important things for you to try to do is to continue, or is to start creating. Create something of your own. Create something that you have that comes from your heart, that comes from your mind, and put it out there. Put it on YouTube. Put it on TikTok. Whatever kind of way you can try to get your message out there. That's the way that I would start if I were up and coming right now. I would create something and I would put it up on YouTube right now.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Jermaine Go 355
Yep.
has a question for you.
Okay, I will take that question and try to answer it.
Which Muppet character from Sesame Street is your favorite?
Well, which Muppet from Sesame Street's my favorite? I'm going to take that okay, I have an answer for that. It's the Count. And the reason why I say the Count is because I remember growing up, I had the original, I think, Fisher-Price Count puppet that I had gotten for Christmas, and I had a Count puzzle. And so clearly, as a kid, I gravitated toward the Count. I love all of those characters. Bert and Ernie make me laugh a lot, but there was something about the Count. So I'm going to end it right there and say the Count.
All right.
Was that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. What do you got?
All right. J Nation 717 said, "Which Jerry Nelson puppet do you love performing?"
Okay, it's the Count.
Okay. And what is your favorite memory with Carol Spinney and Jerry Nelson?
I did answer this question about Jerry Nelson. A favorite memory was when Kelly and I got to go do a show with Jerry up on Cape Cod. And that was a lot of fun. And I'm going to say that a favorite memory with Carol was, I've got a couple that come to mind. And one was very early on. I think we had a rehearsal or something with just Carol and me as Big Bird over at the Carriage House on 67th Street in New York City. And after, he asked we both lived on the west side of Manhattan, and the Carriage House was on the east side of Manhattan. And he said, "Do you want to ride? Do you want to get in my taxi with me and ride over to the west side?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, that'd be great." So Carol kind of gave me a lift over to the west side. That was really sweet of him, I thought. And so that was one thing. So that was very early on. And then another thing that I remember was one of the last times that I saw Carol was up at his house in Northeast Connecticut. And we were there shooting a documentary that Apple Plus had put together. And this was about Big Bird. And there was a whole scene in it that we had shot with Carol in his house. And we were all of us, a lot of us were gathered around Carol. And I sat with him. There's actually a picture of it that I have that is one of my favorite pictures of Carol and me. And we are sitting, and I think I'm eating a banana, and he is sitting, and we're talking. I don't remember what we were talking about, but it's in his living room where he would paint and draw, and I just remember sharing that moment with him. Somebody caught it on. I snapped a picture of it.
Yeah.
And I have that, so
Yeah.
I'll.
Kevon Newman had a question for you.
All right.
What was your favorite obscure puppet character you got to play?
Favorite obscure Muppet character I've gotten to play? I got to play Forgetful Jones for something, and I loved that. I would love to play a Forgetful Jones again. And I also got to do Sherlock Hemlock. So Forgetful Jones was a Richard character. These are both Sesame Street characters. And Sherlock Hemlock was a Jerry character. There's another character that I've gotten to do a couple of times for Muppets, and that's Ma Bear, Fozzie's mom, and another Jerry character that I've gotten to play that's super fun, but I don't really get to play those characters very often. So those are probably some favorites that I've gotten to play.
Okay. So a couple people asked the same question.
All right. You read them both?
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Why don't you read them both?
I'll read them both.
Okay. Start with the first one and then read the second one.
All
and then... Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Weather for Joe said, holding your arm in the air for extended periods of time can be tiresome. What kind of warm-ups do you typically do to prepare? And what do you do afterwards to help ease the possible aches and pains?
Okay, and what's the next one?
My name is Marcelo. Here are my questions for Below the Frame.
All right.
Mainly involving stretching.
Okay.
What are some stretches you and other Muppet performers do when you guys get ready to perform?
Okay. All right. Great. So I would say the answer to those questions, every Muppet performer has a different thing that they do. Sometimes it depends on which character, but I tend to do just, I'll extend my arm out from my body, and I'll take my fingertips and I'll bend them back toward my shoulder. And I'll do that the other way too, bending my wrist down and kind of pulling my fingers back toward, just to kind of stretch out those muscles. I'll do that. I'll maybe just kind of push my... it's really just trying to stretch the tendons in my forearm, because those are what tend to hurt when my arm is up in the air. And was that really what was there something in there about... Oops, sorry about that. Let's see here. Holding your arm. What kind of warm-ups? Yes. What do you do afterwards to ease any possible aches and pains? That depends. I mean, when you do the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, there's a lot of arm in the air. Whether you're inside the Sesame Street 1, 2, 3 building, or whether you're Big Bird outside, especially Big Bird outside, you're holding your arm up a lot. So first thing I do is when I get home is I take a really warm shower, just to kind of put heat on whatever it is that might be aching. But there are some performers that put, there are little topicals they can put on, little bandages, little topical medicine wraps and things you can slap on your tendons, or ice in the moment. Lots of other things like that. So we're just human beings trying to live our lives. You're doing something kind of unnatural. Puppeteering is not a natural thing to be doing with your body. Humans aren't really meant to have like their arm above their head and doing that. Not in this way, not this often. So there's a lot of ice or other things that are out there that you can use.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. It does. Okay. Good.
Marcelo also had another add-on question.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
What kind of vocal warm-ups do you do when you get ready to sing in character?
Oh well, I'll take Floyd as an example for the Electric Mayhem. I just kind of go into the place where the voice is, I think. I don't know that I do particularly a warm-up. I guess sometimes I might. But if I do, it's really just kind of like a very simple, just kind of trying to get into whatever voice it might be that I'm doing. I might do some simple little warm-ups, something like that. Or sometimes there are characters that have triggers. Sometimes with Kermit, I'll just, saying, yeah, and I'll just kind of just try to get in that world of where the voice might be, where the vocal is, or whether it's Uncle Deadly, I might, just like things like, here's one. This is one that Jerry Nelson would do when he was doing New Zealand. He would just, because it was really like his face, he would say like 5, 3, 4, 7, 9, 2, 1. He would do something crazy with his voice, and he would just kind of mess it 4, 3, 2, 1. Really mess with his voice to try to kind of get in the character in that way. And a lot of Muppet performers do that. Some just come right in and they just do it.
All right.
Okay.
Life of SVB says, my daughter received a signed photo from Sesame Street of all the characters. It's adorable, and she absolutely loves it. Are those signed by the cast or the secretary? Just curious.
Okay, that's a good
Thanks
question.
for keeping up the great work.
Well, thank you. Those are signed by us, as far as I know. I mean, we get those all the time. They'll come through. They will be, like a PA or a producer or somebody will come through with a photo a lot of times, almost most days. And it'll have like a little Post-it on it. It'll say, to blah, blah, blah. And then you put your, the signature for your character on it. And a lot of times there could be like a little signature of the performer alongside it, and that's when it's like genuinely authentic. But it just depends on the situation. But I would say probably 99% of the time those are authentic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Palette Painter 101 says,
Yep.
Were there any Muppet projects which were particularly tricky for you to perform as a character for you, and why? Such as any scenes or lines of dialogue that didn't feel as if you were nailing it correctly?
Well, I'm sure there have been. And I will tell you the solution to that, probably 9 times out of 10, is that Muppet performers, because they are, generally speaking, they're the steward of those characters, right? Not generally speaking, specifically speaking. They're the steward of those characters. And so the words that we speak have to feel authentic to us when we are saying them. You know what I mean? So if something doesn't feel right, like with Sesame Street, if words don't feel right, we usually have the opportunity ahead of time. We'll have a table read with the cast, and people will say, this line on page 7 feels a little off. It feels like I don't know that my character would say it like this. Can I say it like this? And that would happen. Or it might happen on set where you're trying to say it a certain way, trying to say the line as it's written, and it just doesn't come out right for whatever reason. Sometimes it could be like a mental thing in your head that's like not letting you say the line right, or it could be a number of other reasons. And so then you gather with the writers and the producers and the director, and you try to kind of come up with what would be a better version for you to be able to perform that line. And oftentimes that better version is probably more authentic to the character anyway.
Critter Cool wants to know, or well, her children want to know.
Okay.
Sophie and Eve and Henry want to know if Kermit will ever come to New Zealand and sing Rainbow Connection.
Well, let's see here. Sophie, Evie, and Henry.
I said it wrong.
That's all right. They'd like to know if Kermit will come to New Zealand and sing Rainbow Connection. Well, Kermit was in Wellington singing Rainbow Connections several years ago. Do you remember that, going to New Zealand?
Yeah.
What did you think about going to New Zealand?
I loved New Zealand a lot.
What did you like the most about going to New Zealand?
Oh, the meat pies.
That's right, you did.
Yeah.
You loved the meat pies, didn't you?
Yeah.
You wanted. That's all you wanted.
That's all I ate, really.
It is all you ate. But the people there were so nice.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And we did this a thing called the Jim Henson Retrospectacle. There might be clips out there on YouTube or something about the Jim Henson Retrospectacle. It was this big thing. We talk about it in the Craig Shemin episode quite a bit, actually, because Craig wrote that concert that we did with Brett McKenzie. And in fact, we started the concert with Rainbow Connection. So if you missed that, I'm sorry. I realize maybe you might not have been where we were in Wellington. You might have been somewhere else, and I am sorry if you were in Auckland or on the other island or somewhere else. I apologize, but that's where we were. I would love to come back to New Zealand because it was so much fun and it was beautiful, and they had meat pies.
Yeah.
Keaton, I have a question for you. It is it's about Sesame Street. You've been to Sesame Street several times.
Yeah.
Over your
course of my life.
Over the course of your life. And do you have a memory? What's your favorite memory about coming to Sesame Street?
Oh, I remember. I don't remember how long ago. A very long time ago.
Yeah.
But I remember trying on the Big Bird pants.
That's right. You did try on the
And
big
that
bird
was really fun. That's what I remember.
And you were
from it.
little, though. You were super
Oh,
little.
yeah, yeah.
So now I think you could probably fill them out, but you were much, much smaller then, I believe, right?
Yeah, but I just remember
That's
that.
funny. That's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Did you have any questions for me, by the way, other than what I've asked you to read to me? Do you have any questions for me about my job or anything like that?
No, not really. I think I know pretty much everything.
You know everything.
Yeah.
Really? Nothing?
Yeah.
Okay, he knows it all. Okay. Well, thanks, Keaton. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Of course.
We'll be back next time with one final question and answer session. So we'll see you next time on Below the Frame. Below the Frame is a Welcome Matt production produced by me, Matt Vogel. The theme song was written by Stephanie DeBruzzo and myself and performed by my band, The Mighty Weaklings. Thanks to Dave Hulteen at davehulteendesign.com. He created our podcast art. You can follow me on Instagram at WelcomeMattV or search Matt Vogel. I post things every now and again, and it'll help you know when new episodes of this podcast, for example, are coming out. If you are sharing podcasts, please let somebody know about this one. And also, if you have a few seconds, just rate and review this one. I'm sure that pleases the podcast gods or something. You can find Below the Frame wherever you get your podcasts, and we are now a video podcast on YouTube, so you can see our faces if that's something that you want to do. Thanks everybody out there for listening. I am Matt Vogel, and we will see you next time when we go Below the Frame.
Go, go, go below the frame.